Good morning, Cityside. Please rise with me so that we can all sing together. We're in this love together. It's like a diamond ring, it's a precious thing, and we never want to lose it. It's like a favorite song that we love to sing. Every time we hear the music, we're in this love together. We got the kind that'll last forever. We're in this love together, and like berries on the vine, it gets sweeter all the time. You can move a little if you want to. It's like a rainy night in candlelight, and ooh, it's so romantic. We got the whole thing working out so right, and it's just the way we planned it. Sing, we're in this love together. We got the kind that'll last forever. Oh yeah, yeah. We're in this love together, and like berries on the vine, it gets sweeter all the time. We're in this love together. We got the kind that'll last forever. We're in this love together, and like berries on the vine, it gets sweeter all the time. We're in this love together. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Cityside. Welcome. Welcome to our Sunday service and celebration. I'm Rob Wozniak, one of your licensed spiritual practitioners. If you are joining us online, we are so happy to have you with us. One of our licensed spiritual practitioners, Jonathan Hoffman, is our online host this morning. Please say hello to Jonathan in the chat. We invite everyone to help us serve more people and spread the word about Cityside. Please share the live stream link, check in on Facebook and Instagram, and share posts. Let people know that you're here. For folks in the room, on the table near the entry, we have purple You Belong Here postcards that you can share with family and friends. It tells who we are and what we do. Take a few and spread the word. So at Cityside, we embrace new thought and wisdom teachings and are affiliated with Centers for Spiritual Living. We honor all paths and provide supportive community where you can explore your own spiritual path. So right now I'm going to do a reading of the vision and mission statement. So at Cityside, we envision a diverse and empowered community that is practicing unconditional love in action. Our mission is to create safe and inclusive spaces to explore and deepen our faith, grow in spiritual consciousness, and express our authentic nature. Hunter Tallman, one of our licensed spiritual practitioners, is holding vigil today, which is a meditative state, so that creating a space for us to have a deeper and transformative experience. And so today we have our very special interfaith panel being led by our very own Reverend Judy Ranniger-Meza. This is an opportunity for us, to kind of be teachable. I know for me, it's like, having a mindset of being teachable and showing up and being open to what there is for me to learn from the different faith traditions. So it's a great opportunity to hear directly from the source. So I'm excited about what folks are going to have to say today. Now it's time for our community greeting. So those in the room, please take a couple of minutes to greet one another and say hello to folks you may not know, and there's a lot of guests here today. When you hear the music stop, please return to your seats. And if you need a prompt, I think an appropriate prompt for today is, did you grow up in a faith tradition, and how was that for you? So, they say never talk about religion and politics in polite company, but we're throwing that out today. We're diving straight in. So here we go.
Okay, this has been so much fun. Let's start to find our seats again. If everybody could try to find their seats, we can get into the panel. Yeah, we want to hear the panelists. This is going to be exciting. So just asking everyone to find their seats. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
The feature song today is Heal the World. There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love, and this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll find there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel fear or dread. Stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing to make a better world. Make a better world. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. And the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face. And the world we once believed in will shine again in grace. Then why do we keep strangling life when this earth crucify its soul? Though it's plain to see this world is heavenly, be God's glory. We could fly so high, let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brothers. Create a world with no fear. Together we'll cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you cared enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you cared enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world and make it a better place for you and for me and
Okay, now that we're set up a little bit here, welcome everyone to our first ever Interfaith Forum. I'm Reverend Judy Ranniger-Meza. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be introducing our lovely panel in just a moment. But before I do, I just want to welcome to anyone who is here, to members of the Buddhist Temple of Chicago, Circle Sanctuary, the American Islamic College, Temple Shalom of Chicago, and supporters of Dr. Arch and Alal Tebek, who are here today to experience the forum and to support their faith leaders. So let's give a warm Cityside welcome to all of our guests. Now, besides Cityside, I'm most familiar with the temple, the Buddhist Temple of Chicago. I've attended services there. That's where I have met Reverend Patty in the past. And I'm quite familiar with one of their members, as I happen to be married to him. And he's here today, so say hello to Carlos in the back. So the form of the forum is quite simple. I have a series of questions that I'm going to be putting to the panelists that will help us to understand how they see and understand the world from the perspective of their respective faith paths. As you may have noticed as you came in, there are index cards and pencils on your chair. So if you have a question, please write that down, and toward the end of the forum time, I will have the ushers collect those. So just put them up in the air, and they'll pick them up. I can't promise we're going to get to them, actually. I hope that we can, but we really want to devote as much time to the panelists answering the questions as possible. So in a usual run of service, we have a spiritual practitioner come up and offer the reading, lead us in a brief meditation, and then open with our service with prayer. Because we're streamlining things today, not as many songs and whatnot, I'm going to be offering the reading in just a moment. But before I do, I'm just going to ask the panelists to come up and take their seats. Let's go ahead and sit. Okay. So the reading that I selected today, I think, really embodies and captures the spirit of what we're trying to do here today with this interfaith dialogue and the song you heard sung about healing the world. So this is a reading that was something written by a fellow interfaith minister from the same seminary that I graduated from, and it's called Together by Reverend Wendy Harris. During our brief time together, let's not talk about our differences. I don't want you to tell me that my religion is better than your religion. I want to share our experience of God. I don't want you to tell me that your religion is the only way. I want you to tell me how God makes a difference in your life. Let's not discuss theologies and creeds, but how we feel God's presence in the loneliness of our soul's dark night. Let's not repent and atone and do penance and make our knees sore. Instead, let us share our deepest fear and our deepest joy and know we are the same. How does it feel to be abandoned, broken, worthless? Or when it is your child trapped in the wreckage? Or when loss and injustice take us by surprise? And is life so transient, so meaningless? Are we not more than this? We walk in Buddha's sacred steps. We follow Christ's holy feet. We dance to Krishna's flute and make the prophet's pilgrimage. So many beautiful paths to the mountain's peak. But did you notice that last night the setting sun lit up the raindrops in the tips of the trees like crimson fairy lights? That a tiny black and white bug is delicately walking across the floor? That the scent of one stem of freesia flowers is permeating the whole room? That the elderly sheep in the field opposite mistakes herself for a lamb in the spring and frolics absurdly, delightedly. So for a while, let's not compare our sacred texts. Instead, let us be still and feel the touch of Buddha's hand on the earth. Let us be quiet and hear the tender heart of Christ beating in our chests. Let us dance the sacred dance with reverence and mindfully sense the way of things. Let us lovingly call each other to prayer and joyfully thank the Great Spirit, which permeates all things and forever gently calls us to notice our divinity in the midst of our humanity. Let us be aware that our deepest human sufferings and our greatest human joys, when acknowledged as ours, teach us to let go of our judgment, celebrate our diversity, nurture our unity, and set us at the threshold, the open doorway to the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. And to that I say amen, and so it is. Okay, so with that, I would like to introduce our panelists. We have with us today Reverend Max Antman, who serves as the Assistant Rabbi at Temple Shalom of Chicago. He was recently ordained by Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, where he also completed a certificate in Jewish organizational leadership. Rabbi Antman is passionate about leveraging his rabbinic voice for social change and believes that the most impactful justice work stems from intentional relationship building across lines of difference. Of course, those of us from Cityside know Amy well, but for those of you who are joining us for the first time today, Reverend Amy Daniels serves as the spiritual director for Cityside Center for Spiritual Living. She is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister and has a Master's of Consciousness study from the Holmes Institute. She believes that we are all one and that as we deepen in our spiritual nature, our actions become more loving and the world is changed. Her life has been profoundly changed by embracing a spiritual path, and it is her joy to share that gift with others. Archon Alal Tabak is a familiar face to many of us here at Cityside, having been around since the days of CSL, Bodhi, and now Cityside. Dr. Archon Alal Tabak is an integrative and holistic physician and ordained trans-denominational minister rooted in the Hindu tradition. She is a welcome presenter at the Arya Samaj of Greater Chicago and is part of a family lineage that includes one of the movement's founders, her great-granduncle, Anand. She is trained in Siddha Yoga, Transcendental Meditation, Siddharshan Kriya, and Oneness Ekam practices, and brings decades of experience in Ayurveda, Vastu, homeopathy, and trauma-informed body-mind medicine. I was fortunate to meet our next panelist when I participated in an interfaith trolley tour that originated and ended at the American Islamic College. Romana Mansour serves as the director of the Hassan Institute for Interfaith Encounter at American Islamic College. She holds an MA in Interreligious Studies from Catholic Theological Union and a Master's in Education and Higher Education Administration from Loyola University at Chicago. In addition to coordinating interfaith programming, Romana serves as the Associate Vice President for Accreditation and Institutional Research and Effectiveness. I met Reverend Patty Nakai before she retired and was witness to her gentle spirit and wise leadership of the Buddhist Temple of Chicago, where she served as minister from 1995 to 2023. During that time, she became involved in interfaith and social justice activities, and during retirement, she volunteers as a court watcher and teaches Buddhism online to people incarcerated in state prisons. Many in our community may not realize that Judith, who attends here at Cityside, is an ordained minister herself. Reverend Judith Sizes is an ordained minister of Circle Sanctuary, which is located in southwestern Wisconsin. Circle is a nature-based religion honoring 8 Sabbats a year, the winter and summer solstices, spring and fall equinoxes, and the 4 quarters between them, as well as the cycles of the moon and our lives. She gives weekly nature spirituality services for the recruits going through boot camp at Naval Station Great Lakes and facilitates monthly online full moon circle broadcasts. So as you can see, we have a very learned and experienced panel of faith leaders, and we are so happy that they are here today to lend their wisdom to this forum. So with that, we'll begin. Let's get this out of the way. So I have been using faith path as a general term to describe the belief systems we have represented here today. But we have some that are, kind of commonly thought of as religions and others perhaps not. So my first question is to you, Reverend Patty. In my sophisticated Google search that I did on this, it's said that Buddhism is, considered a religion by some and a belief system, a philosophy. In your opinion, how do you regard Buddhism? Is it a religion? Is it a faith path? Is it a belief system, a philosophy? How do you see it?
Yeah, I usually say it is a religion in that the word religion means to realign, to reconnect. And so Buddhism is a path to help us reconnect to real life, actual real life, and not what's in our head or what the society says life is supposed to be. It's supposed to help us reconnect to our really deepest life and the life that's all around us. So I think it is a religion. I hate to say philosophy because philosophy sounds so intellectual, right? And religion sounds like you're in the world doing, concrete practice. So.
Thank you. So I'm going to pose a similar question to you, Reverend Judith. We have, obviously we have some Abrahamic religions here present today who have a belief in a creator God, right, and in whom one places one's faith. So in nature spirituality, is there faith involved, and what does that look like?
Well, the interesting thing about this path is that we have so many people that practice so many different, either Greek or Roman or Norse or Celtic. So there are a lot of different people that worship all those different gods and goddesses. But in the long run, I believe all of us believe that we're all connected to Source, and that we use those different religions in order to help us understand this human life that we are living. And so it's really fun to be able to practice those many different things. I personally, I'm a pantheist. I believe that the divine is in everything and that everything is divine, which is a little hard to reckon with the cruelty and evil that we see in the world. But I also believe that that's how our human consciousness is continuing to evolve, because we can't know the light if we don't also know the dark.
Okay. So I'm going to pose a similar question then to you, Reverend Amy. Science of mind is not considered a religion, so how do you regard it? And again, what is the concept of faith within science of mind? And if that leads you into, how science of mind understands God, go for it. You got 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Great. So technically, Centers for Spiritual Living is a philosophy, but listening to what Patty said about like reconnecting, I think that is very true. And what Judith said about Source, like what we believe is that we would say God is all there is, or pick the word you like. But this idea that there is a presence and a power that we are part of, but it works through us and we are part of it. And that through our path and our daily practices, then we reconnect with that. So that's the reason we practice, is to reconnect with that part of ourselves, which, call it what you want, your inner self, your higher self, your divine self, but to reconnect with that spirit. And what was it? Did I miss part of your question?
Just our concept of God.
Oh, the concept of God. So God is ever present, everywhere present. It is, I like to think of it as God is the energy that creates all of this, that also created you, and that is creating your life, and that we work with that energy consciously to affirm what we want to call forth in the world. So I'm just going to say one more thing about faith. So like we would say, our faith is in the fact that that this presence is always with us in spite of what is going on in the world, and that we can call forth something else through our affirmations and our prayers.
Thank you. So that's going to be my question to the rest of the panel then. Now, how does your path understand God or higher power, or is that even a concept within your path? So, Romana, I will start with you. How do believers in Islam understand God?
Thank you. Everything actually I've heard so far is relatable, especially the reading. Talking about the rain and the blossoms, those in Islam are considered the ayat, or the signs of God's love and mercy. And so spirituality is deeply embedded in the tradition of Islam. Those signs of beauty then engender gratitude. And then after gratitude, which is a very big concept in Islam. And I'm going to just go back a little. The concept of God, we always say...
Romana, will you put your mic
sure.
on? Sure. Thank you.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
99 attributes. And so just 2 of the attributes are that God is infinitely compassionate and merciful. And so gratitude is tied into understanding one's own spirituality. And that is a path that could lead to a higher consciousness, if you will. Yeah, we can talk more, but I just wanted to start with that.
Thank you, thank you. So Rabbi Max, let's get from the Jewish perspective, the concept of God.
So I think if you lined up like 10 rabbis and asked them what the Jewish understanding of God is, you would get 10 different answers. Jews have been wrestling with exactly what or who God is for thousands of years, which I think is actually a part of the beauty of the process of defining God. But Jewish theologians have understood God as omniscient, omnipresent, not present throughout time. And I would say my personal understanding of God, I resonate most closely with a Jewish theologian named Emmanuel Levinas, who spoke about God as the faces of every person you see. So a stranger, your friend, a family member, in their face, you see the face of God, and the divinity within all of the people that are interconnected in our world allows you to understand the divine in a deeper way. But other rabbis would have different perspectives. 1,000 years old tradition, lots of opinions.
Surely. So Dr. Archana then, I think when people think of Hinduism, they think of lots of gods, maybe too many to keep track of, at least for me. So can you explain the concept of God within Hinduism and also how Hinduism can be both monotheistic and polytheistic at the same time?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Judy, Reverend Judy. Yes, I've really enjoyed everyone's answers and the reading that you shared. Hinduism does carry both. It carries the monotheistic as well as the pantheistic. There's as many gods as there are people on earth, because what it's about is your relationship with the universe. So I think even Mark Anthony, who started Cityside, talked about when he went to India, to Ekam, there were so many gods because everyone had their personal relationship with God. So really, it's about the individual's connection with the divine. In that context, then, there are many incarnations of God. And that means that there's a god and a goddess for every occasion. So you've got Ganesh, who removes the obstacles, and Lakshmi, who is the goddess of prosperity and abundance, and Saraswati, who's the goddess of arts and recreation and just beautiful hobbies and things that you love to do, your passions. I mean, there's a God for everything. We could go on, but we'd have 100 minutes and 100 gods to share.
Archana, can I ask you then, do all of those gods stem from a one source? Is that the concept?
So the idea is that everything comes from one aspect, meaning the universe is made up of elements, and it's about 6,000 years old. So we're talking like you pray and do havans to all the elements like you do in native cultures as well, and you honor all the seasons, and the source is really almost like love.
Okay.
Ekam means ek, which means oneness. And I've been trained in many meditation and spiritual traditions. My family comes from Arya Samaj, and that is a sect that actually lets everyone pray and do the havans. So they rejected the caste system and allow my mom could do the havans, and she's probably watching online. So hi, Mom. But anyway, so that's how we think of it. Like there's a source, a universe, and then all manifests from that source.
Thank you. So Reverend Judith, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to Reverend Patty. Buddhism is not usually, thought of as having a belief in God or a higher power, but is there a higher something?
I thank you for that question, because there are Buddhists who claim to be atheists. And I think if you look at Buddhist history, but especially my denomination is the Pure Land path. And even back in Buddhist time, the problem with so-called atheism is people think they're the God and everybody else is their subject. So the Buddha wants us to turn that around and see that we are part of this larger life. And so I don't usually say higher power, but we use this term other power, meaning the power that surrounds us and deep, deep within us, that's beyond the ego. So it doesn't mean something dualistic, but it means something beyond our ego self. So that's what the Buddha said, don't get caught up in your ego, in your self-centeredness. So there is this teaching of other power. So yeah, I don't use the word higher power because it's really all over. It's, yeah. So we use that term other power.
Okay. So Reverend Judith then, from the nature of spirituality perspective, this idea of the higher power.
Well, again, there's so many different ways to look at it. You could look at it the Native American way that really honors the land, and you know, it was established on the mother turtle. We are very much intertwined with everything that's living and alive. And I personally believe in the energetic vibration of everything. I mean, even if the rocks will eventually vibrate and break down. So everything is a part of the movement of everything else. So to me, that's kind of the higher power. It is the energy force, the divinity, essentially, in everything.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've been using the term science of mind, and people who are here that may not be familiar with science of mind, maybe not even some of our panelists, I'm just going to turn to Reverend Amy and ask you to describe very briefly what science of mind is and what the major tenets or principles are of this path.
Okay. So, you know, I would say, just to pick up on the higher power thing, I think we believe that there is a higher power, but I think of it more as energy. It's not like, I grew up as a Methodist, so it's not the white guy on the throne somewhere. It's not something that you're separate from. Ernest Holmes, who was our founder, said there's a power for good and you can use it. So the way that I think about our teaching is we say love and law. So like the love is all that there is. The love is, you know, what you might conventionally call God, what you might call the energy of the universe, the creative force. But it comes into our life experience through the law. And if you think about the law as like cause and effect, you know, just in simple terms, what I put out comes back to me. That's the simplest way to think about it. So we're very big on praying affirmatively. And when we pray affirmatively, we remind ourselves of our connection to God, spirit, source, whatever you call it, and that we are one with it. So oneness is a big part of our teaching. Like I liked what you said about, you know, seeing God in every face, because we would agree with that also. But then through our affirmative, you know, thoughts, prayers, the things that the energy we put out to the world, then we create our experience in the world of form. And that's sort of a short version of what science of mind is.
Thank you, Amy. So I'd like to hear from our other panelists in terms of this question about the major principles that guide your religion, or you can put it another way, how does your religion or path understand the nature of the universe and human beings' relationship to it? So Romana, I'll put that question to you first and then go to Rabbi Max.
Sure, thank you. So I talked about the ayat, the signs of God, which often the easiest place to find those are in nature, right? And then it engenders gratitude. But the other element I want to bring up is that this relationship with God and this love and mercy that's seen and this gratitude also engenders a sense of stewardship, right? And so as stewards, we should care for the earth. As stewards, we should care for each other. So that's a type of calling that I feel that Muslims try to practice as part of their faith tradition. And together, all of that and realizing that, which is the hard part, and knowing that and feeling that can lead to a greater sense of consciousness, that we are all connected, and that this is all like from the divine source, this love. So if that makes sense. So talking about divine source and talking about love and mercy, again, these are attributes for God. And in our tradition, we, you know, refer to God as Allah. And so there's this concept also of oneness through that connection.
Okay. So,
Reverend Judy, can you repeat the question again?
Just to describe the major principles that guide the religion, or just how did the Jewish people understand God, understand your place in the world? And
Yeah. I mean, because Judaism is a religion and also an ethnicity and a peoplehood, God is one of many ways to connect. There are a number of Jewish people who would say they don't believe in God, or but would still identify as very, very Jewish. And so I would say the tenets of Judaism are God, learning, and spirituality. So like God, Torah learning, and spirituality, and you can connect with other people in any one of those ways and a myriad of other ways. But very similarly to what everybody else has said, I think those who believe in God and those who don't, Judaism is a living tradition. It's focused on the way that we act in this world today, and all of the teachings and belief in God center around the way that we treat other human beings, the way that we welcome people into our space, the way that we interact with people who we may disagree with. The entire tradition is focused around how to live a good, meaningful, justice-filled life. So whether that centers God or not, the principles of connectivity with other people and bringing about a more justice-filled, loving world. I liked what you said before. I mean, I think love is at the center of all of it. And whether love is in God form or not, I think Judaism is open to either or.
okay, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of talk about oneness here that we're going to get to a little bit more deeply. But go ahead, Dr. Archana, in terms
Yes,
of
so Hinduism really, from my understanding, goes back 6,000 years to the Vedantic times, to the Vedas, to the Indus Valley civilization, and also the Dravidians in South India. And there are three main aspects of the gods that start the creation. It's called the Samkhya philosophy of life, and they start with the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. We might have heard of some of these gods. And then they create a male and female aspect, which would be the Shiva and the Shakti. And as we come into the personhood, you're coming in with all the elements of the universe. And so then you have the five senses. We could go on with Ayurveda about this. The main idea, though, is that we all are connected to the cells and the energy of everything. So it's actually very similar to science of mind, that we create in the form through what's happening in our thoughts. So the practices of meditation, of prayer, of gratitude, of kindness to each other and compassion, of honoring nature, of eating properly, living a healthy lifestyle, are all part of the way Ayurveda and Hinduism express in the world. And I heard one of the Panditjis speak from the Himalayan Institute once, and he said they have all the practices of Hinduism because they want people to live in a healthy way through Ayurveda, which I thought was a very remarkable comment. So my mom practices every single day in her cooking, in her actions, in her behaviors, and she's doing Ayurveda through Hinduism. It's part of the fabric of the society. It's so embedded in the culture and in the food and in everything people do in Hinduism.
Thank you.
So that's
Thank you
really
for
a beautiful
bringing
thing.
that. Yeah. So I'm going to move on to Reverend Judith first. I'm sorry. My understanding of nature spirituality is that it has many iterations, different threads, from earth-based religions to pantheism to spiritual naturalism. So are there common practices or guiding principles or tenets that are common to each?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of principles that are common to all of these religions, in that what we put out, we get back. Your words are far more powerful than you know, so you need to use them with care. And your energy really does affect everything around you. Your thoughts, your prayers. you could call prayer anything you want, but essentially it is manifesting your desire and putting it out there. And so, yeah, everything is interconnected. And so we really feel strongly about caring for the environment. We have strong environmental activism going on, because what we do to the earth, and this is Native American, right? What we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. We spit on the earth, we spit on ourselves, and that was Chief Seattle, I believe, in the 1600s. So we also draw a lot from Native Americans. But all of it is very pre-Christian, it's very old, and we have people that have come to this path that are also Jewish, so they're Judeo-pagans and Christian pagans, because they honor their past path, the religion they grew up with, but they also are starting to realize how important our interaction with the world around us is and how responsible we are for that.
Okay. So, Reverend Patty, in terms of Buddhism, is there, in the Buddhist perspective, what is this thing called life? How do we understand the nature of the universe?
Yeah, I have to say I'm really resonating with what everyone's saying. And one of the statements I wanted to make right up front is that I'm part of a movement called the Asian Heritage Buddhists, that so much of what a lot of people think Buddhism is in the West is really a colonized version of Buddhism. And so the Asian Heritage Movement, we're trying to get back, especially through better translations, to what the Buddha was actually saying, and coming out of this culture from India of oneness. And so my tradition, the English translation is Pure Land, but if you go back to the Sanskrit roots and the Chinese roots, the first part of the concept is flowingness. And I think you mentioned that, right? Flowingness, that like to recognize life as flowing. But also the second Chinese character means groundedness. So we need to be flowing and grounded. And I say we're waves and particles. We're made up of waves and particles. And so, so that's why the real teaching of Buddhism is always in community. It's always in connection with others. And the trouble with the Western version of Buddhism, sometimes it just seems so isolating and individualistic. So getting back to the Asian heritage, we're trying to bring Buddhism back to the idea of community. Practice is done, especially like meditation, and Carlos knows that. Meditation is done in community, not as an individual self-improvement thing, but it's done to open your heart to the other people around you. So, so that's one thing I want to emphasize about Buddhism, that a lot of what you heard Buddhism is really just a colonized version of Buddhism. And we're trying to, people in our Asian heritage movement are trying to get Buddhism back to the roots that all of you I have been talking about, yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to this concept of oneness, and I'll start with you, Rabbi Max. As you know, the Shema prayer is a central tenet of the Jewish faith. And for those that may not know, the Shema prayer goes like this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. So it is my understanding from a Kabbalistic interpretation of the Shema prayer that it is that this oneness, or this indivisibility of God, connects to the unity that underlies and connects all life. So, you know, and again, for people who might not be aware, Kabbalah is a mystical form of Judaism. So is that idea of God common throughout the Jewish thought, or is that specific to Kabbalah?
No, it's consistent throughout the tradition. We actually, we read a specific portion of the Torah every single week, and the portion that we just read yesterday actually included the Shema, so very topical, which we only get to read once a year. And obviously, as one of the Abrahamic faiths, we believe that there's oneness in divinity, but I think that oneness, right? Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one, or the Lord is your God, the Lord is one. The oneness of God, I think, expands more holistically to not only the Jewish people, but the world as a whole and the interconnectedness between human beings and our responsibility with and to one another. So it's not just Kabbalah, it's, I think, consistent throughout the tradition about the oneness of not only God, but also the Jewish people and humanity, and what that entails about the way that we communicate with one another, the way that we treat one another, and the way our world functions, that there's a oneness and a unity to all of it.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, we're at the 5-minute mark. Okay, Ramana, I'm just going to ask you in terms of the Jewish and Islamic faiths, we know they both have origins in the Bible, and they're essentially cousins having a shared history through the lineage of Abraham. So, it would be hard to notice this in the world today, the way people, and for all time, the way people hijack religion for political purposes, and, and certainly on both sides of the current conflicts, right? But does this shared history imply that Islam and Judaism are indeed one? And feel free to comment on oneness in general.
Thank you so much. No, I mean,
Bigger question.
yeah.
I wasn't trying to save the hard ones for you, but
Yes, I would say so, because
again, put it under your
in the
chin.
Islamic tradition, there is only one, right? And so if the one is the source, acknowledging that there are others or that there are differences, then that obviously is not the right math. It doesn't add up. So yes, I mean, expanding on Tawheed, or the oneness of God, the idea is that nothing exceeds God. So there's no partners, money can't matter more than God, other desires can't matter more than God, other conflicts can't matter more, right? And so I think part of just the journey in this faith tradition, and I think just in life in general, is figuring out how to achieve that gratitude, or I should say how to recognize that gratitude all around us, how to work together, because there's something beyond what's just right in front of us. There's something greater, and obviously that is God, the source of love and mercy. And so it's actually a test for us too. If those are if those two names are among the attributes of God, then those are the attributes we should also be trying to achieve in our life. And so, yeah, I think it's all possible. Yeah, of course. And
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Arjuna.
Yes, I just want to say that in Hinduism, the word yoga means union with the divine, with the oneness, and also all the colors are present in the chakras. So we have all heard of the chakras, perhaps, and that also is connecting with the divine and the oneness out there in the universe. And then with each other as well, there's connection. So the goal of all the practices is to be fully accepting and loving of all people, and to be in service of the universe and the divine, and to manifest our gifts. We can actually create new bodies in like 7 years with the form that we have in our mindset. So definitely in Hinduism, oneness is a major part of the principle, and the goal is bliss, or anand, which is a common word in Hinduism as well. So we are definitely all into the oneness of it all.
Oneness. All right. Let's get Reverend Patty and Reverend Judith in on this, then we're going to stop to see if we have questions. So it's the oneness question,
Yeah, I think that's very true, that in the Buddha came at a time when warfare was so prevalent. His own father was a professional, general, you could say. So oneness is, to recognize that our connection to each other was so important. So that
And so
concept
the
of oneness
Buddha
is,
did teach oneness.
Huh?
The Buddha did
Oh,
teach
yeah,
oneness.
yeah, that we're all connected. We're all part of one reality. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the Hermetic principle states that as above, so below, as within, so without. And so that pretty much wraps it up for me.
Well, that was brief, thank you. I told them at the beginning that the beatitude I learned in the Interfaith Seminary was, blessed are the brief. So thank you all for that. Are there, if you have questions, could you raise your cards up in the air?
Online, Quincy has a question I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
She asked Reverend Amy particularly, of all these beautiful paths or options for all of us, why science of mind, why Centers for Spiritual Living?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is, you know, of all these beautiful paths, why science of mind? It's a question from someone online. You know, Ernest Holmes, Quincy, Ernest Holmes studied all the major paths. I mean, he studied Hinduism, he studied everything. And one of the things he taught was that we should be open at the top. So we shouldn't inhabit anything like a dogma that, you know, we use as a baseball bat over someone else. Those are my words. I don't think Ernest would have said that. But I think it's really about why science of mind, because I think, you know, for me, and I think everything that everyone has talked about is valid and is part of our path. That's like, I learned a lot this morning just hearing everyone talk. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. But I think, you know, our particular path, I think, we're open, and it's not better than any other path, but it gives a way to practice and to pull into your everyday all the teachings that everyone has talked about. So.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question here that says, everyone is speaking on oneness, and the question really is, where did the divisions begin and why? Oof. Answer that in a couple of minutes.
Human nature. We are born into conflict because this is what we need to understand in this earth school. And so we need to experience, as I mentioned earlier, the dark in order to understand the light. And this is like, I understand, the most complicated incarnation that we could ever ask for. And we asked for it because we have things to learn here.
Does anyone else have an idea about that?
I know I already answered a question, but I do have an idea about it. You know, one of the things that I think happens with spiritual texts is they're created by people who are having a direct experience of whatever it is that is being taught, and I'd be curious what other things about that. So they've actually, you know, if you think about, you know, going back to Christianity, people who were practicing Christians who wrote things, they were having a direct experience, just as, you know, probably in the Old Testament, people were having a direct experience. Texts were written for the people of the day. They knew what they meant. And so a lot of times people take the texts now, they take them literally. Like, well, when it said this in the Bible, it meant that, right? And so I would say the division comes from people wanting to be right about their path instead of saying, like, no, every path is valid. If it leads to source, to God, whatever your word is, if it leads you to your higher self, it's a valid path. So I'll shut up now.
I just wanted to share that as I'm thinking about the divisions, at least in Hinduism and Ayurveda, we think of different parts or different doshas or different elements that are out of balance in our body. And actually those gods and goddesses represent different parts of ourselves. So for example, there's one goddess named Kali, and she's like the dark Shiva, the dark creator and the destroyer. And she takes all the darkness and the evil in the world and just eats it all up. And then I know in Native American culture, sometimes they talk about giving, and Buddhism too, giving the darkness to the earth because it can hold it. So sometimes when we go out of balance, we have these aspects that take over. And if we're not doing our meditation, our prayer, our daily practices, our prayer partners, or whatever we want to do in whatever path we're in, we can get sucked up into that darkness and the divisions happen. And then there is, you know, unsteadiness and violence as well. And then the fundamentalists also compartmentalize. So if the core of each of these is love, but we get into these parts that are out of balance, it gets to be manifest in the world.
Yes, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So I'm gonna just flip this a little bit. In the Islamic tradition, diversity is by design. So there's a phrase in the Quran that says, God made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. So that the task is actually working with that difference, that diversity. Conflict, which as you mentioned, that's a source of a number of things, like tribalism, which is the negative side of diversity, and being different nations and tribes. But also, power, control, ego, all of those things. So differences is not necessarily the bad part, it's just what you do with it. And I think that's the larger task, is just getting to know one another.
So there's so many good questions here. I'm sorry I won't get to all of them. Just a little question here about suffering. It's not a little question. The question is about, the leaders and the world, different countries who don't seem to value like right action, so to speak, or responsibility for the collective good. So I'm pretty sure we can all agree that there's some pretty awful things that are happening in the world today. So, some would even call the policies of our own government. This is an aside. It's leading into this question of evil, in the world, which maybe causes suffering. So tackle that, anyone? The evil, suffering. Yeah, go ahead. Close us out strong here, Rabbi Metz.
Jews love to talk about suffering. In the Jewish tradition, we believe in the propensity towards evil. All human beings have the capacity for Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination, and Yetzer Tov, a good or compassionate inclination. And we as human beings are fallible, and sometimes get drawn into problematic, violent, hateful rhetoric and actions, and we use faith traditions as a way of justifying those actions. I think that if we are following faith traditions, all of these faith traditions, for what their intended purpose is, I won't speak for all of you, but the purpose of tradition is to find meaning in the world, is to have a method by which to live a meaningful life, one that has purpose and grounding and allows you to flourish. And when tradition is used to justify violence or colonialism or starvation or any of the things that we see in our world today that have religious underpinnings, I think from a Jewish tradition, we would argue that that is a defamation of the actual purpose of the tradition itself. So there is a great deal of wrongdoing in the world today. Religion is wrapped up in all of it. And I think that if we were to return to the Jewish principle of repentance is teshuvah, and the root of it is shuv, return. If we practice the turning or the returning to the central tenets of our traditions, I believe and hope that we might find our ways out of some of the conflicts and problematic situations that are happening in the world today.
Thank you. John, where are we with time? Okay, just a couple more minutes in. Go ahead, Judith.
Okay, so I think that cruelty and suffering is caused by people that don't have faith and religion, that they are selfish and cruel, and that they are out for their own self-aggrandment, for their own wealth and power, and that they just simply sometimes are not empathetic because it's all about them. So yeah, I think that a lot of these people that are doing these horrible things have also suffered in their life, and they don't understand the depth of their own grief, and so they turn around and force it on others. I'm sure there are many other reasons I could probably go on, but that's it short.
All right. So I think you mentioned, Rabbi Max, in your answer that how religion can be used for other purposes, or not in the way that it was intended, misused. So one of our questions was about the kind of the fundamentalist aspects of every religion, right? It's just every path seems to have their more fundamentalist branch. So can anybody speak to that? How that has kind of perhaps taken principles that were meant for some other purpose and misused them? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, I can speak about New Thought because, we teach that that your thoughts create things, and from the perspective of even though we're a philosophy, sometimes people treat it like a doctrine, that it's black and white. And so a common thing, I'll just give an example, which is not so much about the world, but is more about the experience that we're each having in our own life. If your thoughts create things and you get sick, what does that say about where your thoughts were? I've seen people in New Thought be critical of people because they got sick or something went wrong for them, or whatever else might happen in life that causes suffering or things to go wrong. And the things that are happening in our life are like our curriculum, right? Like if it's happening to us, this is what we believe. If it's happening to us, it's happening for us. So if I'm experiencing something, it's an invitation for me to go deeper into my own practice, my own faith, to move through it, right? And that is the opportunity we have right now in the world, just to talk about what's going on in the world, is for us to all believe that something else is possible, even though we don't see it right now. Like to really hold a higher vision. We say in Centers for Spiritual Living, a world that works for everyone. No one's excluded from that, right? It's everyone. And to still hold the possibility of that, because in the history of the world, there's been a lot of dark times. This is just history repeating itself, sadly. Right? It seems to happen every 100 years or so when people forget, what happened before. And so it's really important for us to believe something else is different and to have the faith and to put that into our prayers and our practice instead of falling into what's super easy right now. And I'm just as guilty to say this, look at this is wrong. But it's like when I pray, I need to hold the higher possibility.
Okay. So I'm just going to give one last, and then we're going to stop.
I just wanted to share about this thought of the fundamentalist, and the image that came to my mind was Mahatma Gandhi, actually, because in his ashram in India, he had prayers from every culture. He was so interfaith in the Gandhi village that he would have prayers from every tradition, and he was killed by a fundamentalist Hindu who got upset that he was, giving more to the Muslims at the time of India's partition and things like that. So I just want to say that in my heart is really dear, because when we're speaking about interfaith, my family, we grew up going to all the different faiths. That's why I'm trans-denominational. We belong to a Buddhist Sangha. We go to Christian places with our Christian friends. We come to Cityside because we love it so much, because it encompasses everything. And yet I'm Hindu because of my family's Arya Samaj, where we speak. They ask us to speak all the time. So I think interfaith is the answer when the fundamentalist is like the extreme, because we have this beautiful person and so many beautiful people. John Lennon is another, right? We have so many fundamentalists that have killed beautiful people. Martin Luther King. Okay, I'm going to stop.
Okay.
So
Yes,
the
thank
point
you.
being that we have to love each other in interfaith. Yeah.
And so I'm going to stop us all at this point and we usually end a talk or part of the service with a prayer, so I'm going to ask Reverend Amy to do that.
Okay, great. And first, let me thank each one of you for being here. I mean, what a beautiful morning. And special thanks to Judy, who did so very much work on this. So you can give them a little applause before I pray. Thank you all. So we pray affirmatively, and so I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes. And if you want to say your own little prayer, if you have a different path, you can do that. But in this moment, I'm just recognizing this source, this energy, this God, the universe, by whatever name we call it. This presence and power of love and goodness and grace and possibility. This healing presence and power. And I know that I'm one with this presence and power. I'm one with this healing, this love, this grace, this divine connection. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each person hearing my words. I know that we are all one with this energy of love, of light, of possibility, of healing, of divine connection, the oneness itself. So from this place of oneness, I just speak a word of blessing on everyone who is here today. I just bless this interfaith conversation, and I hold it high, just knowing that the more that we understand each other and the more that we are open to different ways of thinking, the more that we are individually healed. And as we heal individually, we heal collectively, because this love comes into the world more fully, this compassion, this understanding. And so this is what I'm knowing and declaring for all of us, that our hearts are opened wide, that more and more all the time we are recognizing our oneness, that we are healing our own sense of separation, and that we are building connections in community in the world. I just know and declare that a different experience is possible in this world, and I just know and claim that all these conflicts are resolved, and that we are all returned to this heart of love, which is the truth of our being. This is what I say yes to, and I know that God's got this. I know that there is a power and presence bigger than us that can make this prayer so. So I say yes to this on behalf of all of us. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this beautiful panel. I'm grateful for Reverend Judy, and I'm grateful to know that this love that we are a part of can truly heal the world, and it is happening now. With so much gratitude, together we say, and so it is. Amen.
So those of you who did not get your questions answered, we are having a potluck after, so you might want to make a beeline over to your person and ask your question. If you need it back, just come see me. So I think we're taking a picture right now.
Taking a picture?
Yeah. Scooching together. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Wow, that was wonderful. I heard a lot of connection. Heard a lot of oneness. I heard a lot of love, a lot of beauty. What a hopeful message we heard today. At least makes me feel hopeful. Now is the time for our offering. Cityside is a community-supported organization, and each week we practice conscious giving, which allows us to make this service and other offerings available to you. your financial support makes Cityside possible. And for me, you know, I love giving to Cityside. I love extending, you know, participating in this life that is abundance. And I just think this work is so important. You know, we get to hear messages like we heard today. And it's so important to my own evolution and how this makes a difference in our lives and in our communities and in our families and our workplaces. Right now, I'm going to read our giving affirmation. Uh-oh. Yeah. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
I heard Paige taught you guys this one. Oneness, it's unconditional. One love, our hearts are open wide. Too much is much too cynical. It's something simple when you look inside. Oneness, it's unconditional. One love, our hearts are open wide. Too much is much too cynical. Something simple when you look inside. Oneness, it's unconditional. One love, our hearts are open wide. Too much is much too cynical. It's something simple when you look inside. It's something simple when you look inside.
Hi, I'm Reverend Linda. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you so much for being here. And the baskets that are being passed have affirmation cards for you. We're practicing the law of giving and receiving here in the room. Take a couple and share them if you're so called. So I want to thank you for your gifts. We would not be sitting in this space. We would not have this panel. We would not have the opportunity to be here together if it were not for those gifts. So thank you so much. And if you are joining us for the first time, we welcome you and we thank you for being here. And we invite you to subscribe to our newsletter. The code should come up on the screen. And you can stay in touch with us this way. We'll send out an email to you, usually just once a week. And you can find out all the events that are going on here on a regular basis. I am going to just give a few high-level announcements today. I say that and I have like 6 things on the list, so bear with me for a moment. First of all, you're all invited to stay after service. We have some food that people have brought, light refreshments. I just invite you to not take a second serving until you make sure everybody has had something. There is water also in the kitchen, so please help yourself. And just so you know, Tuesday, the LGBTQ plus circle is meeting again here in the room. You can just show up. I think it's at 7 p.m. Or if you go to cityside.me, which is our website, and you can find all of these things on our website, you can fill out the circles form and let them know if you want them to keep in touch with you about future meetings. This Wednesday, August 13th, this is the second Wednesday of the month, and we have the practicing compassionate communication in relationship. So we use nonviolent communication practices and other peace-building practices to sort of disrupt our domination patterns and to learn to speak to one another with empathy and compassion and to really develop mutual respect. A few things coming up. We do have some classes starting. We have the art walk in September. I'm going to leave all of that for another day. And if you have any questions, feel free to see me after service. Again, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the time together with the panelists, asking more of those questions. And we have a practitioner in the room. Hunter is going to be offering prayer for anyone who would like prayer. And Jonathan will be offering prayer for you folks online. Let's see, next week we have Rev Amy speaking, completing or working with our theme, The Wings of Love. And until then, stay safe and have a beautiful week.
Please rise with me one more time. We're going to sing One Love together. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. All the children crying love. One heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Let them pass all their dirty remarks. There is one question I'd really love to ask. Is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own beliefs? Sing it with me. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Singing, let's get together and feel alright. Have a beautiful week, everybody.